Hello everybody, and thank you for stopping by my channel. We are about to get into a video which discusses Ready to Love Morgan on season 8 of that show. I do not normally review Ready to Love, but it's not necessarily a review that I'm going to get into, but more so talking about the non-settle factor that I believe that Morgan exhibited in this season. So before we get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment the video, and share the video, okay, on all of your platforms so that I can grow and illuminate in front of several people. Let's get into the video, shall we? Let's do it. So if you are not familiar with the show Ready to Love, I have been watching the show Ready to Love since it started. It is hosted by Tommy Miles, which is Steve Harvey's actual nephew, and he does a really good job at hosting the show, right? The show is about singles coming together, and he goes to different areas, singles coming together and mingling, dating, interacting with each other, so that in hopes that they can find their person, right? This is season 8. Since I have been watching the show, in my opinion, there has not been any successful relationships or couples with each other that they end up choosing. There have been successful relationships outside of the show, after the show, things of that nature, but during the show, not really. And I believe it's because they have to date and interact with so many people so quickly that their feelings are more so forced than authenticated. So we're going to talk about Morgan in season 8. Now, Morgan, really pretty lady. She came, and we're not going to talk about her other connections, but we're going to talk about 2 connections in particular. So Morgan on season 8, she came down to choosing 2 guys, or having a connection with 2 guys, which was Lyndon and which was Tony. Now, they have a section of the show where they go into the ladies lounge and they discuss their connections, they discuss who they want to eliminate, they discuss various things. And she said in the ladies lounge that she has connection with Linda and Tony, and there are 2 opposites. And she said that she has this strong like with Tony, but there's something about Lyndon that is very sweet, very endearing, that she really vibes with him. Now, Morgan came into this process saying that she has a 2-year rule, meaning that she wants to be married and begin a family within 2 years. Now, I can completely understand where Morgan's coming from. We as women, our biological clock is like tick, 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 tick. So we are just like on always a time crunch, like especially if you want to have children and you want to get married, you do not want to be waiting and waiting and waiting forever. On the flip side of that, you cannot just settle for a man off of the strength that you are getting older and that you want to have a family. And I believe in this season with Morgan, that is exactly what she ended up doing, and it caused her drama in the end. Okay, so now back up to speed. So Morgan came down to it where she had to choose between Lyndon and Tony. Now, if you watch the show, you notice throughout the show, Tony was he's a very attractive man, don't get me wrong. He's very successful. He comes off to have this swag about him that I could understand why she would gravitate towards him, right? But on the flip side of that, Tony was also, in my opinion, a jerk. Very much so towards her. He was very insensitive, kind of narcissistic, very I'm Tony, so who else would she want or choose? He was just very much not a good guy. Lyndon, on the other hand, was very lighthearted, very nice to her, treated her with respect. He was a little younger, but I feel that he would have been a better fit for her. Not only did I feel that way, Tommy actually told Morgan in one of the ladies' lounges that if you eliminate Lyndon, I think you are making a big mistake. This is coming from the host, and Morgan still decided at the end to choose Tony. So she had to sit down with Lyndon and she had to have a conversation with him, letting him know that she decided to go with Tony. The conversation, Lyndon was just like, I understand I'm not the man you need at this moment. And Lyndon only felt that way because Morgan made sure that she told the guys that she had connections with that she is on a 2-year plan. Like, I want to be married and have kids in 2 years. And if you ain't with it, you ain't the one for me. So Lyndon knew that in 2 years, he might not be ready or able to give that to her. So that is why he agreed with her. My issue is with Morgan, and we're about to get into it. So Morgan, sis, if you ever come across this show, just know that I'm not bashing you, or ever come across my channel, just know that I'm not bashing you by no means, but you let a good guy go because he was not a part of your 2-year plan, which ultimately end up hurting you in the long run. So let's go over to when she chose Tony, right? So at the end of the season, they have to decide who they want to be with. She chose Tony. And well, she chose Tony as the person that she had a stronger connection with, and she sent Lyndon home. At the end, they had to choose who they wanted to be with if both of the persons wanted each other. So when they came to meet each other, Tony, of course, said, I choose you. But on the other hand, Morgan decided that she did not want Tony. She said, I'm going to choose myself. I was so livid when I saw it because I was just thinking to myself, Morgan, you let Lyndon go because he didn't fit into your box. Why? And I'm not saying she should have compromised. You should never compromise. You should have standards for what you want as a woman. We should have those standards set, right? But at the same time, Lyndon very well y'all could have dated. Y'all could have got to know each other more outside of the show. And maybe you would have found that Lyndon might have been ready to give you what you wanted within a 2-year time frame. Tony sold Morgan a dream. And this is why she was very much involved with him, very much ready to be with him, because she decided that he was ready to give her what she wanted. He told her that in 6 months, he was actually ready to settle down and have more kids. I can't remember if he has kids or not, but he was saying that he was ready to give her what she wants, basically. And so she went with her infatuation with him because of his suave, debonair personality. He's also from New York. Sometimes they can be a little slick talking up there, the way they carry themselves. So Morgan was just really much engulfed with him. And the fact that he wanted the things that she wanted, she was all on board and for it. So she decided to choose him to continue on with, but in the end ended up choosing herself. Now she let a good guy go because he wasn't within her time frame, and chose a jerk guy that wasn't what she needed because he kind of promised her what it is that she wanted. Now we come down to my opinion of the matter. Which I've already kind of given you a little bit of my opinion of the matter. I'm going to talk about myself for a minute. I was a little bit of Morgan, right? I had a idea and plan that 2 years, I'm getting older. So I'm going to give the next guy I get with 2 years to ask me to marry him, to be serious about me. I don't want to waste my time, things like that. So it's not like I didn't understand where Morgan was coming from. But I also feel that she very much went with the wrong person. I felt that she should just have lived her life. She should have dated Lyndon. She should have got to know him. She might have found that they clicked, and he might have found that they click more. And he might have said, you know what, I want this woman sooner than I thought. Maybe he would have asked you in 3 years. Maybe he would have asked you in 4 years, which I'm talking about myself again. I met my husband and I was on that same wavelength as her. 2 years, and that's what I want. 2 years, and he better ask me or else I'm out the door. Like, I was convinced. But after 2 years did not happen, I was already loving on my husband. I was already saying to myself, this is definitely the guy that I believe that God has for me. He has all the attributes and qualities that I want in a man. Am I willing to let him go because he did not fit into my time frame of 2 years? And even on the flip side of that, my husband told me that he had every intention of marrying me, but there was some things within me that he wanted to see if that would be something that he could deal with. And he wanted to take his time. And he had every right to take his time to figure that out. I think Morgan's issue is that, like many women, we get older and we want what we want when we want it. Our biological clock is ticking. We want to have a family and children. We just want to have a good life. But on the flip side of that, with wanting all of that, we end up pressuring men sometimes. We end up running them off, and we end up being alone longer than we should be. Instead, the solution that Morgan should have taken, in my opinion, she should not have given a time frame. She should have just focused on making an organic connection with one of these guys. Lyndon, yes, he's a little younger. He may not have been ready for what she wanted, but he treated her with respect. She had a really great connection with him. He was a nice guy. He was attractive as well. And she liked him, really liked him. And so she should have went with what her head was saying about Lyndon and what her heart was saying about Lyndon. She should have just given him more of a chance. Instead, she decided to go with the man that was making empty promises and treating her very badly in front of, I don't know if it's millions of people that watch Ready to Love, but in front of the world, basically, because it is a show that comes on TV. So she chose Tony and went with him because she felt like that was what she wanted. That's what she needed. He was ready to give her what she wanted, regardless of the fact that he was that he was a jerk to her. I can't even sum it up in no other word. He was a jerk to her, and he wasn't what she needed. But in the end, I guess light bulb moment came on, something hit her in the head, and she realized, I'm going to choose me instead of choosing Tony, because he has embarrassed me on this show. He has talked to me crazy. He has made me feel belittled and less of myself. And so I'm going to choose myself. So I applaud her for making the decision to choose herself at the end. But here's where my other issue with her lied. So sometimes soul ties is real, right? I believe that when you are with a guy that you really like him, and especially when you sleep with him, there is a connection there that sometimes needs to be broken, and you just can't shake the guy. You don't know why. You know he's not great for you, but you cannot shake it because you just feel like, this is my person, right? Regardless of all the signs that God sends you and says, this is not the guy. You are going with your feelings instead of what your mind is telling you about this guy. And so I believe that that's what happened with Morgan and Tony. She was connected to him. She liked him so much. She could not shake him. So at the part 1 of the reunion, we discovered that she was still dating him after she chose herself. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why did you choose to date this guy after you clearly knew that you were not going to continue on anything with him because you want to choose yourself based off of how he treated you? She still dated him, and it did not get better. It did not change. He was still the person that she thought he was. And she ended up just leaving the show she ended up being on the part 1 of the reunion, very angry, upset with him. And she just really was over it. But some of the things that she said and did on the reunion made me believe and feel that she is not done with Tony. Tommy asked her straight up, is this over? Are we to say that this is a wrap? This is a done deal on y'all relationship? She never said no. She just said that he's a monster. He's this, he's that. All of these things that she knew during the show and that she knew as to why she chose herself. But she never said no. I believe that Morgan is not over him. And I believe he knows that. So he's going to continue to try to pursue her and keep her on this wheel that she knows that she does not want to be on. Instead of her going with Lyndon, and she still sung his praises at the reunion, instead of her going with Lyndon and just enjoying life, having fun with him, getting to know him and see what happens, instead of trying to have this box and time frame, she ended up still dating Tony. So all in all, to say this with this video, this is called the non-settle factor. in my opinion, and I'm going to give you what I believe the non-settle factor should be. Have standards. Have standards. Nobody's saying you as a woman should not have standards, that you should not set the bar high. A man will show you how to treat you. Wrong. Rewind. You will show a man how to treat you. Have standards. Yes, have standards. Do not compromise just because you're getting older. Do not settle just because you're getting older. If a guy shows you who he is the first time and even the second time, believe what he is showing you, because that is exactly who he is. Have standards. Do not look at time. Live your life. Enjoy being single. Travel. Hang out with your friends. Go to different events. Just really enjoy life. And while you're on the way of enjoying life, that person is going to come. Number two, which actually should be number one. So we're going to flip it. Number one should be to pray to God. Ask God what it is that you want in a man. Tell him every single thing down to a T that you want in the person that you want to be with. Talk to God. Tell him what you want. Have standards. Don't worry about time. Live your life and the man will come. I really believe that God sent me my husband at a time in my life where I needed him, number one. And number two, at a time in my life where I just was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on trying to elevate myself and live my life. And all of a sudden, here he comes. You know, the whole time that I was asking for a spouse, the whole time that I was dwelling on it, the whole time that I was making comments like, why me? Why am I still single? Blah, 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 blah. Husband was nowhere to be found because my attention and direction was focused in the wrong way. And so when I began to live my life, that my husband came. I believe firmly that that is what every woman should do. So pray about it. Have standards. What other advice can I give for a non-settle factor? Just have respect for yourself. I think Morgan didn't have too much respect for herself because she allowed this guy knowingly on the show. He spoke to her crazy several times. He embarrassed her several times on the show. And she still continued dealing with him after she even told him, I'm not choosing you. So she, to me, did not respect her standards and herself. This guy showed you who he was. You should have believed him, moved on, and asked God to send you the person that he has for you. She didn't respect herself. So pray about it. Have standards. Respect yourself. And at all costs, the most important thing out of everything that I said, out of everything in this video, and I hope you liked the video and it came across great, and I hope you comment, like, subscribe, and join this wave of older women empowerment that I am trying to give to the YouTube streets. All that being said, but most importantly, if you've taken nothing away from anything that I said, be at peace, live your life, and be happy. Be at peace, live your life, and be happy. Some women are not going to be married. Some women are going to grow older. They're not going to get married, and they're not going to have children. Does that mean that your life does not have meaning and purpose and that it's over? Absolutely not. You go forward and you live your life. Be happy, be free, be just joyful and jolly, and do things and just live. Everyone does not have to be a wife. Everyone does not have to be a mother. That does not mean you are less of a woman if those things do not come. So the most important thing, have peace, live your life, and just ride the wave of where you are at. And if it's a desire that you want to have a person and be with a person, make your request known to God. And maybe God is saying, okay, I'm going to send him in 4 years. Are you going to cop out? No, you have to say, okay, Lord, I'm waiting. And when he comes, just be ready to receive the blessing that God has for you. So y'all, that is my video. That is what I want to leave you all with. We spoke about Morgan and her decisions on Ready to Love. And I really was not going to talk about Ready to Love because I'm not a reviewer of shows. But when I saw her on this show, I mean, it hit a nerve because I just felt like she settled, and she should have a non-settle factor. Love yourself, have respect for yourself, be at peace, live life, and just, if you want the person to come, just wait. Wait for the person. Wait for the person God has for you. And I feel like she was not at all doing that. And maybe she felt the pressure of the show. Maybe she felt like I had to choose or interact with this guy because the show is making me interact with him. You know, we don't know all of the behind the scenes things that go into these reality shows. But one thing that you can control is how you present yourself in all facets. Like if it was me and I wasn't feeling Tony like that, I don't care what the producer said. I'm like, nope, this is not the guy for me. I'm not going to choose him. But sometimes the heart wants what it wants, but you have to not always listen to the heart. Sometimes you have to be in tune with the head and what God is telling you, that voice on the inside. I feel like that is something that God has given us women to discern different things that come along in relationships with us. We know goodness well we have been with so many men that have not been the best fit for us, but because we like them and we're acting off of emotion, we tend to give these guys more chances than they deserve. And that is something that she had did with Tony. So I hope that Morgan, if you ever come across this video by chance, I hope that you know that I was not bashing you at all, but this is simply my take on non-settling. And yeah, it was just basically to give advice to women who are seeking not to settle, and my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion on how to operate and not settling. So I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching my channel. Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe below. Let me know if you feel like Morgan settled or if you feel like she did not settle. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, it's all good over here on this channel. Let's have a conversation below, and I will talk to you all later.